We had a vote on whether we were going to withdraw or not, and we prevailed over time that we would not set a date for withdrawal, although it'll come up and again. And we had a vote then to fund, after we made it clear that we were not going to withdraw immediately, to fund, and unbelievably, United States senators voted not to fund the men and women who are serving. Now, how do the men and women in the military feel about this? I don't think they're particularly happy about it, but their morale is not dramatically affected. I'll tell you that, because they're brave and well-disciplined, and they're wonderful young men and women. And when they're given a mission, they go out and do it. And of course the losses have been tragic. Of course it's been difficult. And of course the sacrifice has been enormous. And the mismanagement of this war for the first 3 years or so is a disgrace, and will go down as a disgrace in the history of this nation. And I was one of the first to virulently object to the failed strategy that was employed. I think this strategy can succeed. The question is, as someone said not long ago, will the Washington clock and the Baghdad clock be in coincidence? In other words, will the American people simply demand withdrawal? Now, why am I against withdrawal? My friends, the same reason why a date for withdrawal, Henry Kissinger, Brent Scowcroft, General Zinni, I'll give you a long list of names. Setting a date for withdrawal will mean genocide and catastrophe. Now, what happens? Well, a number of scenarios. One of them is that you'll have an incredible bloodletting in Baghdad itself. There's 2 million Sunni and 4 million Shia. We are supposed to withdraw to enclaves outside of Baghdad and watch it happen. We regret to this day that we didn't stop the genocide in Rwanda. We regret to this day that we didn't stop the genocide in Cambodia. We regret to this day that we didn't do anything about the Holocaust, but we're going to sit by and watch that kind of thing happen inside Baghdad and around the country. What about the Iranians? They've already been emboldened, and they're already significantly impactful in southern Iran. What about in southern Iraq? What about the Kurds? If the Kurds become independent, the Turks have announced that they will not allow an independent Kurdish state. So you will see military involvement there. So it would be very tough times, my friends, and if I could give you a good option, which I keep being asked for, the present strategy, I would give it to you. And on the other hand, I would ask those who say, let's have a date for withdrawal, what's their option if that doesn't work? I think that would be a balanced kind of a discussion to have. I'm fully aware that the American people are. I was asked by one of the senators from California on the floor the other day, don't I read the polls? Don't I know that the majority of the American people would want us out of Iraq? Sure I do. And my response to her is, but I don't adopt my positions because of polls. I adopt my positions because of principles and beliefs and knowledge that I know what will happen if we don't give this new strategy a chance to succeed. So we'll take up the debate again tomorrow. Major publications such as the New York Times editorially have decided it's time to get out. And on Sunday they had some quotes from some members of the military who are against us, the conflict in Iraq. I'm sorry they missed the 4th of July in Iraq, in Baghdad, when Senator Lindsey Graham and I were there to witness the reenlistment of 688 brave young Americans who decided to reenlist there in Iraq so that they could continue to serve. I'm sorry that they missed the 128 young Americans who served in the military and have a green card, and so that they can get their citizenship sooner. 2 of them, by the way, that were supposed to be at that ceremony had been killed in the previous few days. So I can finally end up by telling you that the men and women who are serving in the military are the very best of America. And I've been proud to know members of the greatest generation. I've revered them. I've loved my comrades that fought in the Vietnam War and in other wars. This group of young Americans is the best trained, the most professional, and the bravest that this nation has ever had. And no matter how you feel about the conflict in Iraq, I know that you still support them, unlike another war. And the next time you run into one of them in uniform, just go over and say, thanks for serving. I thank you, and I appreciate the chance of being with you, Tony. Thank you very much.
Well, first of all, just let me welcome you officially to the Churchill Club. Of course, the Churchill Club is a nonpartisan forum here. and we welcome all presidential candidates. In fact, that was always our dream when we started the club, to be a forum where presidential contenders could come and address the greater Silicon Valley. So we really appreciate you being here. Got to start with some of the current events here, get those on the table. The last couple of days, we've seen some announced restructuring of your campaign. You've seen some personnel changes. Of course, in Silicon Valley, we're used to startups going through changes. And so what I wanted to do is pretend for a moment that we're your venture capitalists that have given you some money already, and you're coming in, and what we're asking is, what happened to Plan A, and what's Plan B for the campaign?
Well, Plan A was that we structured the campaign in too large a fashion and too bureaucratic a fashion, and we raised pretty good amounts of money, but we spent too much. I mean, it's not much more complicated than that. I'm sure that people in this room have seen enterprises that made the same mistake. We fixed the mistakes. We're moving on, and we will have the kind of campaign that succeeds. Also, I'm not a good fundraiser. I will fully admit. I think I'm an adequate campaigner. Excuse my ego. I think I'm an adequate campaigner, and town hall meeting and settings like these are what I very much prefer. Mm-hmm. So we are restructuring. We're moving on. I was in New Hampshire last weekend. By the way, there wasn't one question about the changes in our campaign. All of the questions in two town hall large meetings were about the issues of the day, which is what they really care about. So the town hall meetings, we'll be getting out the bus, and we'll do the town hall meetings, and I can out-campaign anybody, and I'm confident of success.
So was there a forecast that you're going to raise more money, and it didn't happen, and therefore, because this campaign, has probably gotten a little more crowded and noisy than you might have expected at the beginning of the campaign?
No, look, it should be tough. It should be tough. This is the most important position in the world. It should not be easy. We started out in 1999 with a poll that had us at 3%, and that poll had a 5% margin of error. We could have been at -2 at the beginning of that campaign. By the way, after I lost to President Bush in the South Carolina primary, I slept like a baby. Sleep 2 hours, wake up and cry. Sleep 2 hours, wake up and cry. But look, every campaign has ups and downs. I remember when Bob Dole left part of his campaign on the tarmac in the 96 campaign, and I remember when Ronald Reagan had to fire John Sears. I mean, there's ups and downs in every campaign, and I'm confident that we will be just fine. And I look forward to, frankly, in the fall, when people really begin focusing on the candidates and the campaigns.
We live...
By the way, the responsibility is mine and no one else's. I hope there's no doubt about that.
Well, as your VC, we're happy to hear that. Taking responsibility, which is always needs to be done. So you had alluded to us living in very divisive, kind of very highly partisan times, and I wanted to kind of drill down on that a little bit. And in my mind, it all seemed to kind of begin back in President Clinton's administration with Ken Starr and the impeachment and all of those things, and then has certainly transpired through the Bush administration. And as you noted, it's very disheartening for people, the average American, particularly